Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Midweek Metagame. I'm your host, Gabriel Nassif, joined by my regular co-host, Edgar and Gab.
Hey Gab, how's it going? Hey everyone.
Good. Just came back from basketball and ready to record the pod. We're gonna get into a lot of modern. There was some RCs. Edgar's been testing. I've been playing a bit of this and that. We'll also give you a quick recap of the historic qualifier. Edgar got pretty close, me not so much. And yeah, just lots to get into this week. Next week, I think we'll do band talk. We'll probably record right after the band talks, or the band talks, the band announcements, and maybe mix in a little spoiler review, talk about standard, all that good stuff. But yeah, this week, historic and lots of modern to get into. Before we do that, if you want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/midweekmetagame. You can, go give Edgar a follow on social media, myself as well. Check out my stream, my sponsors, amazing sponsors, Ultimate Guard, TCG Player. If you need deck sleeve boxes, Ultimate Guard has amazing product, and if you need cards, you're in the US. TCG Player is just huge marketplace, and you can pretty much find whatever you need. I actually had a bunch of store credit I used for the last PT, Modern PT. I got like $7 worth of Modern Staples. It was pretty nice to actually own a few cards and not have to bum my cards from my friends. I mean, I did bum some of the cards from my friends, but all good to like
Yeah, you
just
looked like it was Christmas morning opening up your 12 packages of cards or whatever at that testing house. It was fun to see.
yeah. So yeah. Um, well. Weekend. Another weekend of me failing to qualify for the Arena Championship. You've never qualified either, right?
No, I haven't. I've been pretty close a couple times. One win short, two win short, and then yeah, this week I made it to day two and didn't get there again, but pretty close.
Yeah, we both end up playing Junt. I got the list. I think Doomwade got the list from Untapped, and I got the list from Doomwake. Made a few tweaks. Without even really playing the original list right away. I just cut the birds. We talked a bit about it last week. I think like you're playing Ignoble Hierarch. Bird's pretty big downgrade. Kind of feels bad to have the two cards in the same deck unless you're desperate. Made a few other changes, mostly good. You ended up playing a Snuff Out. Me, no. I heard of a team who actually played Free Push, Free Snuff Out. They build their mana base to support Snuff Out and play a Love Diet card, so maybe that was a little better. Um, we didn't really consider anything else, right? We were pretty happy. I wasn't super excited going in. I thought the deck was fine, but nothing special, but good. Did you consider anything
Yeah,
else?
we played around with some of the flex slots. Just we added a couple fear of missing out. We talked about like the Detective Phoenix numbers, some of the supplemental removal spells. Like I played a Terra Sunder. I think you had a Witherbloom command, but for the most part, the core of the deck was pretty set in stone. I think. Like I kind of decided pretty early that I wasn't going to touch any of the Goif numbers. I was pretty happy with Fork Jarso after playing a little bit with the deck. I ended up cutting Crucius. I don't remember if you did or not, and I just played two Fables instead. Crucius was kind of medium for me, but yeah, I mean the deck was solid. I actually ended up not playing against Dabmilk Eldrazi, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping to play against him more. I played against Lotus 4 times on the first day, which I hadn't really played against much in testing leading up to the event, and the matchup felt pretty bad, and I think I got pretty lucky to beat it all 4 times. Um,
Yeah, I lost it the
but
one time on the ladder. I heard someone played the deck and lost it a bunch during the qualifier. I considered Lotus briefly because Madness was liking it. I played two matches with it, won both, but it was also not didn't feel like super good. The deck didn't my draws weren't very fast. Mostly beat Eldrazi was Consign and then beat another medium deck, I think, and decided to stick to my guns. The UI is kind of rough too. I don't think you really ever time out, but it is a lot of clicking with the deserted temple or the one that untaps and stuff.
Yeah, you never rope out because you keep taking actions, but apparently there's like a 5 minute hard limit on a turn on arena. So if you don't finish comboing within that 5 minutes, it just like passes the turn for you, which I think might have happened to one of my opponents on the first day. They kind of I thought they fizzled, and then I read about this after on Twitter, and I wasn't aware of that functionality, so I think that might have actually happened to my opponent. So a little bit of a limitation there.
Do you
I don't know
know
how
if
often that actually comes up.
do you know if you still get the rope? It kind of appears out of
No,
nowhere all of a sudden, or it's just
no, it's just if you've taken 5 minutes, you just lose all priority, and it passes the turn.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
still
but I mean, I
scary.
don't think that comes up that often because, like, if you play the Tome Scour version, you're gonna deck yourself very quickly. If not, like, Tendrils doesn't require that many spells, so as soon as you have enough mana and a way to find it, you should be able to do it pretty consistently, I think.
Yeah, I'm always worried with these decks about the corner case scenarios, the sideboarding, playing against hate. That's kind of the scary part. You played against it 4 times. I played against it no times. I lost to the deck that impressed me the most was the Tessara Val combo. It's you basically gain infinite life, deal infinite damage. Was Tessara and an alchemy card called Val, and the deck's super strong because you've got Green Sun Zenith, Cord. Maybe you can play Rumble. I don't know if they play Rumble, maybe not, but tons of redundancy. You get to play cards like Guide of Souls, Innkeeper. So basically, you need Tessara, which is whenever you gain life, scry. And then Val says whenever you scry, seek, a few other things, you gain a life and deal 1 damage. So they kind of trigger each other once you get it going. You need the initial like life gain or scry or whatever, the keywords on Valor, and then it's just like infinite damage. And yeah, just kind of tight little package. Some people play Bombardment of Johnny too. I think they play a kind of a more mid-range version, and I lost to that. It was close, but it was funny because people brought up that deck a bunch, and I played against it online only once. And I figured, okay, we have Thoughtseize, Push, Jarsil and stuff. How bad can it be? But they're consistent, and I got God in the sideboard game. I don't know if that's a main deck card or not by Dewdrop Cure, which is basically bring back 2 creatures for free mana and really good against spot removals or even can help you recover against a sweeper. Yeah, I lost to that. I played kind of poorly. I gave a game. I lost to Energy once. I think I only beat the Mirror and lost to like 3 decks. So that was my experience. But I know the champ Sharsh and Har went 7-1 on day one and 4 on day two, and you had a good run too.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that he 4-1. I know you told me that he made day two, but yeah, it's good that he qualified. I ended up playing against the Val deck twice in the second day. To my only 2 matches that I played, I lost to it twice. One of them was the Cord Green Sun Zenith version, and in game three he top decked a Green Suns for lethal on the last turn. I mean he probably had a few turns, but that stung a bit, and then I immediately queued into the deck again, but this time the mid-range bombardment version, and that one kind of got me with like a more fair game because I had to respect the combo a lot, I mean I had to break up the combo with a removal spell, and I kind of lost to an Ajani, so yeah, unfortunate pairings. I think I wish I played against more Eldrazi. I only played against it once on the first day, I think. Um, I know and you had warned me about the Val deck. I actually hadn't played against it at all before that day too, and I only had one copy of that night in the sideboard, the can't gain life night. Maybe you were right. Maybe we should have tried to fit in a few more copies there.
Yeah, I was basically trying to get you and Char to play as many copies as you could make room for because I was really impressed. It's some I was wondering. I need to ask Ignotus. Um, he had a deck that was not a control deck, and if you notice not playing a control deck, you think he probably has a pretty good deck. So I wonder if that's what he was locked on when a few days before the tournament when we are talking in my chat. Because yeah, just from playing that one, I was just so impressed because my draws were pretty solid and seems like your card should line up well, and I still kind of got 2-0'd. I saw Shahar beat it, but his opponent kind of messed up. I think his opponent brought in Surgical, which is sus, and Shar got a little lucky, and it felt like I played against it. Um, I don't know. It just felt like maybe that was going to be a winner's metagame deck. Kind of a deck that was going to show up a lot on day two. So, but yeah, honestly, it was fun to play that format for a week. Kind of newish format because it got a little shake up, and I actually had people tell me they played the Jund deck, and it was some of the most fun they've had playing Constructed in a while. Kind of fun, interactive deck, and pretty powerful as well.
Yeah,
I would,
yeah, I agree. I had a lot of fun. Like it's kind of a weird format too, just because of like the no free spells, and then it's like kind of feels like modern, but then there's random like cards that are banned in Legacy or like super powerful because they're arena only. It's kind of neat. Just play once in a while.
yeah, yeah. The one mirror I played, my opponent had one of the Mox collectors. It was a 2/2 for green and one. And at the beginning of your second main, if you have four more cards in your graveyard, you get a Mox chat one time. So it's mostly good with Rumble, and usually when you have a Rumble, your draws are regularly is going to be pretty good. So it's a bit of a one more, and it also has an ability that says Black X, bring back a creature with casting cost X or less with a finality counter, I think. So powerful late game ability. Problem is it's kind of a Grizzly Bear on turn two. So decided not to play that card, but I didn't even know that card existed. But yeah, it was fun. Looking forward to the next time I have to play, historic or timeless or these formats for the qualifier. But yeah, still haven't gotten there. Anyways, let's talk a bit about modern. There's two RCs, right?
Yeah, two RCs and then also an energy event and a different event like the MXP Invitational or something like that. So a lot of modern that went on this weekend. A lot of all of it was covered too. I remember I was just playing my arena event and there was just 4 different streams that I could choose from to watch some modern content. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Did you feel like you learned anything?
It was kind of interesting to see, like what people were doing. Kind of like evolving the decks that I expected, mainly with Jeskai. We saw a lot of innovation in the Southeast Asia RC that we'll get to later, but a lot of people just tuning that deck, like kind of as it increases in numbers and it being a reactive deck, people are kind of adjusting week to week. The biggest thing that I liked, though, from watching the coverage was seeing the Simic Birthing Ritual deck do so well at the Energy event. That's a deck that I kind of had my eye on. I hadn't really put a lot of work into it, but I thought it was interesting. The fact that it's a really strong subtlety deck, which is kind of a strong card in the metagame right now. It also gets to play Harbinger of the Seas, which I think is a great card right now. And it ended up doing really well this weekend. It's kind of been doing consistently well for a while now, but it hasn't really put up like a really big result before this that I can remember. So seeing it get first and second at that energy event and also doing kind of well at the RCs was nice.
Yeah, it's a deck that's been around on Magic Online. It's not played a ton, but it's put up results. I always thought it was pretty solid when I played against it. I could see it having some somewhat polarized matchup. We saw a player have a good run with it in Houston, and the list hasn't changed too much. This is the list of Nathan Perigo, who won the event, and you've got your oracles, your ice fangs, and ritual, all the free counter spells. The two dismembers main are pretty stock. Anything that stand out, or do you think that's just pretty stock list?
Yeah, it seems pretty stock. I started after looking at these lists. I started doing some research on what was stock, what wasn't. Like you said, like the dismembers are pretty common. Um, the person who got second place had two copies of Quantum Riddler in their deck, which I'm not totally sure about it in this deck. It's kind of you're not really going to be able to ritual into it ever unless you have a subtlety in play, which doesn't come up that often. Um, and you obviously don't have any ways to blink it, but it's an undeniably powerful card on its own, so maybe it's worth having access to. I know that you can, and I think some older versions of the deck had additional copies of the two mana cantrip creatures. Um, we see the one copy of Fibblethip in all of these lists, which is pretty stock. You could play more of those, I think. It is kind of a nice card to hit off ritual. But obviously you don't want to ever draw two, so that's annoying. But there is a blue green frog. I think it's like something profit, frog profit, or something like that
It's a
from
hybrid
from
rat.
Bloomborough.
It's
Yeah,
hybrid,
the
right?
hybrid one exactly. Yeah, and
Oh,
that's just an additional copy of like a two mana draw card, pitches to all of your pitch spells that you could play if you wanted more copies of that effect.
yeah. You can't really keep a hand that. I mean, I guess you could keep a Charlotte Sage in hand on the play probably, but you kind of need a two drop, and what you have like 13, which is fine, but probably more is better.
Yeah, and you have nine right now. You could go up to 13 or more if you
Oh,
play
yeah,
Fibblethip.
Scouting Ritual is a decent, probably
Oh, sure.
reasonable
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I ended up playing some with this deck on Moto on Sunday and a little bit yesterday, and I had found myself in spots where I had access to Ritual, but my opponent's game plan was to kind of just kill all my creatures, which can happen sometimes. Um, and in those games, it can be nice to have additional copies of the just annoying to kill one mana or two mana one ones that draw you a card. So I think there's some playing around to do with those numbers, but like I said, I think some of the older lists had it and they ended up cutting it. So maybe there's a reason to do that. Fit in some more interaction, some more haymakers like Harbinger or Brazen Bar or whatever it might be.
Yeah, if you look at the Matrix, it's has had like really high win rates recently and somewhat polarized. I mean, the sample's pretty low. Like, does really poorly against Is It Prowess. Thing you were telling me that's the pretty much only matchup you lost. So you lost to Is It Prowess a bunch playing the deck.
Yeah, I ended up playing 4 leagues with the deck, and I think I went like 0-6 against Prowess. I lost a mirror and then beat everyone else or something like that. It was I I don't know if I'm not approaching the matchup correctly or something like that. I tried a few different game plans, like having a ton of endurances, ton of removal spells, boarding out counter spells, boarding in more counter spells, just trying a bunch of different plans, and none of them seem to work properly. So, would be curious to know if anyone has any ideas on how to beat that matchup. But it feels really bad. Just your free tempo spells are not good when your opponent's deck is also hyper efficient spell wise. They have access to Lava Dart, which is a nightmare if you're trying to set up Ritual. They have Unholy Heat for your Oculuses as well, which are cheap, and Mystical Disputes to counter your spells. They just have a very good recipe against you.
Yeah, I felt like I mostly beat that deck when I played against online. I don't think I played it against it more than 4 or 5 times. But I think it was okay. Was the blue white bling deck? It was an okay matchup, even though it looks like it does. It went like 62% against Jeskai Blank, 100% over 11 matches against Esperphilia, 80% over 5 matches, so 4-1 against Azorius Control, which I think were the decks I was playing, like control decks, blank decks, and felt like I was holding up my own. So um, I still always take these results was a grain of salt, but that's like several weekends in a row where Rituals shows up, does well. So yeah, and I'm guessing this is not making your life easier, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, I mean, Gorgias is getting worse and worse, it seems, every week. I mean, I'm still trying some stuff out with that deck, but yeah, this deck is a nightmare for Gorgias. I've played it from the Gorgias side quite a few times actually, and the combination of all the free counters and Harbinger and Endurance, like it's quite annoying.
Yeah.
Um, and these Jeskai decks are packing more hate too. And yeah, it's a lot of questions up in the air. A lot of the different things happening.
Yeah, pretty decent deck against Titan too. You mentioned the Harbingers. You have a couple of those main deck. At like
Yeah,
sixty
and
seven
that's kind of
percent
the
win
reason
rate
why
against Titan. Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons why this deck is kind of, like you said, it's been doing consistently well, but it's kind of been doing a little bit better more recently, and I think probably Amulet is one of the reasons. Like that matchup is incredibly good, I think, for the Simic Ritual deck.
Yeah, lines up well against that and playing poorly against Prowess and Affinity. So depending on what you think the metagame's gonna be, could be a good choice. We could look at the results real quick. There's not every deck list, but there's the C Championship was won by Venom One, which I recognize from Magic Online. Who apparently won multiple RCs. Not the first time he wins. He won was Jeskai Blink. Pretty stockish list. The one innovation, I'm not sure who came up with that, but is a card called Strict Serenade. It's one blue counter spell. It counters an artifact, a creature or planeswalker for one blue, and they get a 2/2 flying, which is kind of cool because then you can blink the token with Philia, you can bounce it with Teferi, you can kill it with Flage. So you're pretty good at dealing with a singleton 2/2. I guess Ragavan's kind of the only creature where it can be a little awkward.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of awkwardness when it comes to Ragavan, and I mean also with Philia too. Like obviously you can blink the token, but sometimes you want to be able to blink your own Riddler, or that it's going to slow you down a turn if you have to blink the token first, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean a lot of people are claiming that this is kind of the solution for these Jeskai decks to kind of help with the glaring issue that it had against certain spells resolving on the stack, and the Strict Serenade kind of covers most of the things you're worried about. And yeah, we saw it a lot. I think there was a team that worked on it together for the Southeast Asia RC. Venom ended up winning. I know that um, Kelvin Chi was part of that team. He was playing a more controlling version of the deck and finished in 10th or 11th, something like that. And they had another member in top 8 as well playing the Blink version. So they all did pretty well. I'm not sure if they came up with it, but we're seeing a lot more of that online over the last couple of days now, too. People are kind of adopting it and it's picking up steam.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do my homework. I didn't try and track, look at all the lists and see where the Strict Serenade originated from and when it started getting really popular. But yeah, I played a list that won a challenge. Zio Francone won when 10-0 in a modern challenge this weekend was, or was it Monday? Anyways, was kind of a more control-ish version. No Philia. He was playing a Raptor Guy's main. He had four trainers, three Flame of Anners, two Snapcaster Mage, and even he was just playing two Strix Serenade in the main deck. Just kind of testament as how efficient that card is, how well it lined up against Titan, Riddler. Just really good card right now. It counters Kappa Cannoneer for 1 mana. So yeah, this is the list for people watching on the YouTubes. I'm gonna show the list and go over a bit because I think it's like pretty interesting. So he's playing four trainers, three Riddlers, four Solitudes, two Snap, two Lorien Revealed, three Flage, three Consign, despite not having Philia, just kind of for value, and two to combo with Flage, two Ephemerates, three Endings, two No More Lies, which he plays over Counterspell because it pitches to Solitude and it's easier to cast, exiles a Flage, two Strict Serenade, free Flame of Anor, one Teferi, free Flare of Denial to go with your trainers, and then one Rav Disguise. I thought that deck was okay. I went 2/2 in a prelim. he was only playing 22 lands into Lauren Revealed. I think that's at least one land short. Um, the control aspects are cool. Trainer Flare is strong in some spots, but I don't know how you feel about it. But I think it's just awkward to build these decks with only 3 Riddlers and 2 Ephemerates. I feel like this is something you really want to build around and max out on, or it's still okay. Those cards are powerful. It's still okay to play less, but I feel like I would rather try and either have 4 of each and build more around that than just kind of go in between. I feel like these cards just get better the more you have, and not, you know, just a little awkward when you're like trying to
A few copies.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's something that I definitely agree with you. That's something I didn't try this version at all, but I played some with Kelvin Q's version, which is very similar. He also had Riddlers and a couple Ephemerates, and then a lot of control elements like main deck Verdict and counter spell snare stuff like that. He didn't have the Thundertrap trainers, and he had 2 copies of Ephemerate, and I really felt the awkwardness in that list where, more often than not you would have to cantrip your Riddler on turn 2 or whenever, and like just plan for the super late game, which you couldn't always get to, or you would draw these Ephemerates and they wouldn't really have a target. So I'm kind of surprised to see in this list with the Thundertrap trainers that wouldn't be enough of a reason to kind of, lean into that package a little bit more. Have the trainers with the flares, and then that kind of enables the Ephemerates, which in hand enables a 4th copy of Riddler, and then kind of flush out the deck from there. That's probably the direction I would try to go with this more controlling shell.
Yeah, it's a little tricky because you do have a lot of creatures with your trainers if you're playing the 4th Riddler. You probably want the 4th Solitude still if you're playing Ephemerate. And to some extent, I feel the same way about Flage and Arena and not playing card like Fable. Flage Arena is so powerful. I think you kind of want 4 Flage in the 2 arenas, especially when you're playing these consigns. Like that's one of the better plays I think you can make with consign in that deck is play a 3 mana Flage of Arena and consign the trigger. It says into play, it has haste, like it's kind of like turn 4 hasty Flage. It can be obviously game winning. So I feel like he's trying to do too many things. I mean, he did go 10-0 in that challenge. I think he dropped 1 game in the top 8. But yeah, I would try and kind of pick my lane. I thought at any rate, maybe 2 Snap is a little clunky. Free Flame is a little clunky. Um, so I'm not too sure how to go about it, but I did like the kind of control aspect of playing like the one Wrath Disguise main, one sideboard, even though I guess even the Fable version and stuff plays Wrath Disguise main. And yeah, I think Fable kind of broken record at this point, but that card makes so much sense in that deck. You can find it off Trainer, you can copy Trainer. It's obviously great with Flage. Like this deck has no ways to bin a Flage, even though with fetch lands and whatnot, you're pretty good at getting to the 5 cards. But yeah, I felt like I'm sure now people are just gonna copy that card for card because they went 10-0 and not change a card, and maybe by sheer numbers you're gonna see it do well. But I think you can maybe do a little better. It did kind of make me, because I kept playing in Saga decks or decks where Wrath Disguise would be good. Even in the mirror, it feels like in the late game they can maybe just play around that. And even though I don't like Tune the Narrative, I was wondering if maybe just playing 4 Tune, 4 Discharge, and maybe like 2 Wrath Disguise main wouldn't be a good angle. Just a lot of discharge cheap removal, and then you enable these big Wrath Disguise, maybe play more Teferi so you can play them at instant speed. And I don't know, there's a few different directions you can go. The Fila version kind of nice, and everything seems to work well together. This one's a bit more, a bit of this and that, trying to fit everything in the same deck. And um, yeah, I'm not too sure. Another card I was thinking about is maybe Path to Exile could be good, a bit for the same reasons. Like Strict Serenade is good. Path to Exile might be decent in the meta. Kind of not a bad one to flashback with Snapcaster in these late game battles with Flage and Riddlers and whatnot. So that deck's been around some extent the trainer build was Flare. It was around before Riddler, and now it might be back, but I would like a little more coherent build, and at any rate, at least an extra land.
Always comes back to the extra land. No, I definitely agree. I think these like slower, more controlling versions are a little bit trickier to build, right? Than we see with the like the Ragavan Felia builds are kind of there's a lot less wiggle room, right? Because it's all about raw card quality, and kind of everything is kind of pieces together so easily. So I think with these, like even going back to the PT, like Ely played a kind of controlling deck, and his deck was even a little bit different as well, closer to Kelvin's list. So a lot of different directions you can go in terms of, how much arena flake stuff you want, like how much actual hard wraths you want, um, how much stack interaction, stuff like that, and then like what kind of transformational sideboard you want as well. Like how much of the Ragavan Philia stuff do you want to morph into when that's appropriate?
Yeah, Kelvin Shu's version was he even played a Jays Divine Sculpture. He had a Jays Free to Fairy, 4 Flage, 4 Discharge, and free ending. So a lot of cheap removal. He had 2 Verdicts and 1 Rab Disguise. He had the 4 Riddlers to Ephemerites. So he was basically not playing the trainers, and instead he was playing more sweepers, more planeswalkers.
And more
Um,
cheap removal
yeah, he didn't have no more
because he
lives,
has the
but
discharges.
yeah, he had the 7 1 mana removal. He had the full 4 consign in the main. He still had a couple tricks. He made room for the second arena, which I'm a big fan of, was 4 Flage. But yeah, no Fable. No card like Consider could be okay to find off trainer if you're playing trainer to hit your land drops. Good with Flage. Um, yeah, just I mean, this is kind of another build that's not super coherent because it looks like it could be a little clunky with the 4 Riddlers and only 2 ways to blink it. And, on top of that, you're playing an extra Chase. I don't know. At least it has a lot of cheap removals. The discharge was a Rab Disguise. I kind of like that part. It's not super hard to get a bank an extra energy killing a Ragavan or something like a Guide of Souls or Filio. So that's always that. But yeah, definitely like a super interesting kind of like every deck in modern really. Just so many ways to build the decks and that one especially because a lot of times it's just like a few cards, maybe you're just, if it's Titan, it's like a few cards, or if it's blue white Azorius Days, it's not that many cards like choosing between this and that the removal. But Jessica, you can go Filia
Yeah,
build.
these cards are 20 cards different, right? Between this build and
Yeah,
the stock like Ragavan Philia build, even though
yeah,
they're both Jeskai Blink, it's a massive difference.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I think that kind of felt okay though, but I only played 4 matches. I played a bit of Blue Black Frog. I played a challenge as Blue Black Frog. Did not go well. I went 2-5, kind of classic Frog experience. I went 2-5, but I felt like, I was in there battling. I was close. I played
It was
against
a
a
good
It
2-5.
was a good
Made you feel
2-5,
good
yeah.
about it.
Maybe if I changed like 2 or 3 cards. To be fair, I did play against Affinity 3 or 4 times and only beat it once, but felt pretty close. I wish I had like Hercules Recall in my sideboards. Um, that would
Did you
have.
play Jesse Hampton's list? I saw that. So Jesse Hampton was playing Blue Black Frog at some event this weekend. I'm not sure which one it was.
Okay, did you do well?
He was 6-1-1 at one point. I didn't see him in any of the top eights, and again, I don't actually know which event it was. I just saw a screenshot of him playing Blue Black Frog. But I mean, yeah, 6-1-1 at some point playing it. So, um, yeah.
Yeah,
How did you arrive at the deck then? What made
it's
you
it's
gravitate
it's
towards that?
it's a list that I played a league of. I think testing for the PT, and I think I went 4-1. And my idea was to not play Thoughtseize main. I think maybe it's when Energy was pretty popular, so I moved the 4 Thoughtseize to the sideboards for matchups like Eldrazi mostly, I think, and Control obviously combo, and decided to play to the board. More have Dresdown main because I love that card. Have a couple Edicts which is not uncommon in Frog that people will have like Shoot the Sheriff or Edict, but I was fairly impressed by Edict still. I was impressed by Tamio. I was playing 4 Bowmaster main, which helped me beat the one energy deck I played against. I was playing 3 Kaido to Murktide, and yeah, just 2 Force, 2 Subtlety. Deck felt pretty good. It felt pretty close. I maybe didn't play the best, maybe didn't sideboard great, the usual kind of, but you could argue the same. I'm sure my opponents are making like similar mistakes, so yeah, I don't have like,
deep thoughts on Blue Black Frog. You're not gonna
yeah,
try to sell me on it.
yeah, no, it's probably like not the worst deck. I think the win rate's been like not that bad, right? I think these Matrix usually like around 48, 49%. Uh, but
Frog
no,
stuff. I
yeah,
will say that Bowmaster is a card that seems like it could be like looking for a good home to shred through this meta. I mean, it's quite bad against Amulet, but I think it's one of the stronger cards you could play against these Riddler decks, and it's incredibly good against the Simic deck if it picks up steam as well.
yeah, it's really good against Ragavan. It is sometimes like too little. It just doesn't do enough. Sometimes you have these draws where you draw 2 Bowmaster, but you just fall short because you get them a little low, but it's not good enough. So there's that problem.
It
And
is true that if they go Riddler Ephemerate and then you get them with the Bowmaster, it's like you're not even really ahead, right? You have 3/3 against their 5/6 or whatever 4/6,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they've drawn 2 cards. So
yeah, that kind of sucks. It's mostly like, yeah, really good against Energy, really good against Ragavan. I think I did beat the one. I think I beat Energy and Jeskai. Maybe I went 3-4, 2-5. I definitely beat the first Affinity deck I played against. And I thought I beat a Jeskai deck. Maybe I didn't beat the Energy deck. Maybe I ended up punting. Anyways, um, yeah, no, these cards seem like they would be decent. In hindsight, after playing a bit, I wish I had maybe like 1 or 2 Thoughtseize in the main. Maybe not all 4. Um, Subtlety and Force of Negation were really hit or miss. I had 2 of each in the main. And then I think there was one matchup, I can't remember which, there was one matchup where I just boarded out the Frogs on the draw. I think it was against Jeskai Blank, actually. I felt like Frog would almost be a liability because they had Ending and Teferi and Dispute, and I was maybe going to actually struggle to tap out for Frog after sideboard. Um,
that's
but yeah,
interesting. That's one of those things that I don't think I've really ever considered like doing. That I'm sure to a fault, but like boarding out a card like Frog, like that's a hard sell. But I mean, it makes sense the way that you just said it.
yeah, I just didn't know what to cut. Like I felt like all my main deck cards were pretty solid. Um, I never know what to do against Riddler if you want to lean on Thoughtseize and try to get the Riddler, knowing that it's not a good top deck when the games go super long and have Riddler waiting in Orb Zone. A bit like in Enchant Mirrors where people were boarding on the Thoughtseize, but then at some point it was like maybe it's good because if you do get the Blood Braid or Curve Out and protect your Dark Combat, it's so hard to say
Hmm.
was that card. And yeah, I had disputes I
When
wanted to
when you
bring
were playing
in.
Blue Black, did you have your own Riddlers or no?
No, no, I
Okay,
don't. I don't even think I played the first one. I had 3 Kaido and 2 Region as kind of my top
I see.
end.
So just like an actual traditional frog deck.
Yeah,
I wish I could find Jesse's list. I'm actually curious now.
to me it was kind of impressive. To me it was 4 Fatal Push and just in general, I just really like that card. That's another card you can play in Jeskai that people have played in these Jeskai builds was Flare of Denial and Trainer and kind of use that
Yeah, it
as a
might
win
make
con.
sense in that Thundertrap Trainer Flame of an Aura build as well.
Yeah, it's a Wizards for Flame, works well with Flame. Um, I also played a little more blue white, but I still don't know. People have been asking me because I've played versions like kind of with 4 chance and 1 scepter kind of stuck, and then I've played versions with like 1 or 2 chant to go with your Narsets and your Teferis, and just having some matchups like combos, like they're usually always pretty serviceable, even if you're not all in on them. I don't have an answer. I know you were kind of liking that deck last week. You actually picked it to for Life on the Line. Have you had a chance to play it more, or you said you played a decent
Yeah,
bit of blue green?
I played a lot of blue green in the past couple days. I played a little bit of blue white at the start of the weekend. Um, yeah, I mean it's just control, right? It's not hard to be, or it's not easy to be passionate about it. Um, I think I like not having the scepter stuff a little bit more, but I don't really feel too strongly about it. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think that the way that these Jeskai decks are kind of developing, I don't really have super high prospects on doing that stuff anymore, I don't think.
yeah. Strict Serenade sounds kind of nice against
Yeah.
Planeswalkers, Counter Scepter, even like that can
Felt like a
be.
lot of time playing against the control deck, like I was in these spots where I was kind of clenching a planeswalker to like turn the corner, and with them just having additional ways to kind of break that up is kind of scary. It also just hits the scepter too if you're trying to do that. Kind of catches them in both ways.
Yeah. So I guess where are you at? What are we? 3 weeks? 3 weeks out? You've got like a couple weeks probably to lock in a deck and get some reps.
Yeah, still trying a lot of stuff. I mean, we still have a couple more RCs coming up. I think there's going to be the other American RC before mine, or I'm not sure if they're on the same weekend or not. Um, but yeah, I mean, kind of front runners the our Jess guy just because it's so good. I'm gonna keep working on this blue green deck. I kind of like the feel of it in the past couple days. Maybe try to figure out a plan for prowess. Um,
Yeah, there was we
so
didn't talk
but
about it. There was a South American RC when won by Julio Perranaro Espero. He was playing Jeskai midrange, kind of stock Philia, Jeskai midrange. He did have the full four Ragavan for Philia. He did not have strict Serenade. He still had two Teferi. Oh, I like it. He has two Teferi and free Fable and not other way around. Big fan. Um,
doesn't care about white card count. He's just playing the good cards. I like it.
yeah, yeah. Um, there was a Simic Birthing Ritual deck that made a top four as well. That deck was represented. Wars of Blink in the top eight. Not a deck you see a ton these days, but yeah, kind of more of the same. Some energy, some is it prowess. Uh, Affinity.
Warsaw Blink is interesting to me because I mean
Really?
obviously
Oof.
we've spent well not interesting in the sense that I want to play it, but kind of interesting in the sense that I'm curious as to how we got to that point. Like we've been talking about Riddler essentially for the past however many weeks, and the duration of this podcast as well, and obviously Consign one of the strongest cards in the format, but Consign stock has kind of been going down a lot. Like I kind of feel like if it wasn't for these decks that kind of are utilizing its effect in other ways in the main deck, we would see that card in fewer numbers.
Yeah.
Um, so the kind of the exclusion of those cards for a more consistent mana base, which is something that we talked about a lot around the Pro Tour with these Blinks decks,
I feel like the
and
Jeskai mana
um,
base is just really good. I don't know. I remember you guys talking about it. I only had played one league during testing, but isn't the Jeskai mana base just really solid? Even was
it's
right.
fine now. I think, yeah. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's great. It's still, you're still trying to curve like Ragavan plus like a heavy blue and white card count. Um, it's better than what we had at the PT because we were also trying to play White Orca Phantom. That's kind of the biggest
Yeah.
difference. Um, so like obviously moving away from that is a big deal, and the fact that Belcure is has gone from top dog to almost non-existent is a big contributing factor to that. Um, but yeah, I mean, what I meant by what I said earlier though is that like obviously a two-color mana base is going to be better than a three-color mana base, even though you don't get access to good utility lands out of black white, just taking less damage, having more good duels, and getting to play more copies of the modal double face cards as well is kind of a big deal, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm interested in these Jeskai builds. Like, I'm not sure how much modern I'm gonna be playing because they're gonna. I mean, in a week we kind of get probably gonna start playing standard even without the latest set yet with Airbender, just to get familiar with standard. So maybe this is gonna be the last week where I played still a bit of modern. I'm sure I'll still play like the prelim, some challenges here and there, but I mean, Jeskai Shell's just so powerful. You know, we see it every week, but you get to do regular ephemerate plus Plage Arena, which is two of the most powerful things you can do in modern. Um, yeah, what's your I guess your plan you think for the coming week as far as modern goes?
I think my plan this week is to figure out the. Well, first I'm going to try to get blue green out of my system, see if I like that
Yeah.
enough to keep working on it, or if it's kind of more of a meta deck. Um, like if I find the matchups are too polarizing, then that's something I can shelve and revisit right before the event if I think it's the right tool for the job.
Hmm.
But the amount that it's polarizing is a little bit scary to me, I think. So then after that, I think it's just figure out what the best shell of Jeskai is. Like we were talking about, there's so many different ways you can build this deck, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out, even if I don't figure out the answer as to which one I want to do right now, kind of figure out the pros and cons to each, I think is a big deal. Um, like where each one's gaining in terms of matchups or in terms of, like on a macro level, what the metagame has to look like for one build to be better than the other, stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm guessing Titan stock kind of falling a bit with cards like Strix Serenade and the blue green deck
We
picking up
we might see
steam.
that. I don't think we've seen it yet, obviously, because the strict stuff's kind of new, but we
Yeah.
might see that going down into the future. That being said, Canada's kind of a big amulet hub for my local RC, so maybe something I need to kind of keep in mind regardless, even if it's the stock's going down online.
Yeah, I didn't watch the full match, but I caught a glimpse of Canister getting picked apart in the quarters. He made top eight of that challenge, and he got paired against Zio Francone and just got picked apart. Like got wrecked by No More Lies, got wrecked by Strike Serenade, and um, looks like he was not having a good time in that matchup. And yeah,
I think it's a good litmus test if you want to figure out if Amulet's on the decline or not is when you tune into Canister's stream and he's playing some weird cards to try to beat what other people are doing to stop Amulet. Uh, when I tuned in, I think the title of his stream had to do with Dosan the Wandering Bard or something like that, which is the green Grand Abolisher. I think once you get to that point where you're trying to tutor for those kind of cards to stop your opponent from interacting with you, that's when Amulet's going to be on the decline.
yeah. Is Cavern of Souls just too awkward on the mana to even play like a copy or two?
I think it's a few things. So it's awkward on the mana. You're not really good at tutoring it anymore because you don't have like a lot of copies of Teleria West and stuff like that. And it also just doesn't even stop everything. Like it doesn't stop subtlety, I guess is the big thing. So it's not like you can tutor a cavern and then you're packed into Titan is safe. Like if there's still a chance that that's going to get interrupted with, then the whole like multi-turn process of trying to set that up becomes a lot more suspect.
Yeah, there's subtlety and there's consigned too, I guess, but
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, as someone who plays decent bit of blue, I was always so happy that this. I was like, really, they're still not playing Cavern. They're still not playing Cavern every time, every. But yeah, that makes sense. Anything else you that caught your eye that you want to add about modern, or should we put our lives on the line?
No, I mean I think that's about it. Yeah, just yeah, let's do it. Let's put our lives on the line.
All right, for those of you who are new, Life on the Line's a theoretical tournament. If you win, you live. If you lose, you die. And we have to bring a deck for the formats we've talked about. So this week's gonna be modern. I guess I'm curious if you had to like tomorrow's like qualifier. We didn't even mention they completely messed up day two of the qualifier. They started it two
Oh
hours
yeah.
early, we suspect it's because of the daylight saving. So maybe the person in charge did like -1 hour instead of +1 hour, which would explain like they went in the wrong way.
The
So
2 hour
that
difference.
would explain to our difference. You got in. Like, I mean, I guess in some ways you wish you hadn't gotten in. I'm assuming they're probably gonna give a day two token to the people who didn't make, but there's a ton of people who just missed the window because what they
Yeah, so I
you
think
know.
they gave a day two token to the next month for everyone who didn't register. So yeah, I actually do kind of wish I didn't register, which is funny because I would have missed it if not for Brittany was cubing on Arena and she saw that the window was closing and I was still asleep. So,
Yeah,
but
I hope they at least gave them extra gems for the like. I mean, people maybe make they make plans. They like, but I'm
also
guess
it's a weird format. Like I used like 50 wildcards or
that's a
something
good point.
testing
Yeah,
for historic.
mm,
Like it's people put a lot of effort
yeah,
into these arena only formats.
yeah. I mean, I'm not one to like always just badmouth Wizards. I feel like they do a lot of things right, but I feel like they're pretty bad at compon what can I say the word compens
Compensating.
compensating like properly, like valuing people's time. Like a lot of time they'll give you like the stone min and act like your time is worth nothing.
Hmm.
That's not a great look. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people got more than a token. Maybe they also got some gems and whatnot. But yeah, that's a great point. Like even without counting the wild card thing, like just your time and you're making setting time aside to play these qualifiers. Anyways, yeah, I was gonna ask. I was curious if you had to go back in call, would you play? I don't know if I'd play our list was maybe extra knights, or if I would just try and switch to a Tessara build.
No, I
What's
would
your
still play
guts?
Jund, I
Yeah.
think. I mean, yeah, we don't have like full results or anything, and like
No.
obviously that deck was good against us, but like I don't know how it is against Eldrazi and stuff like that. And from what I saw on Twitter, like there was still a lot of Eldrazi and a lot of the decks that we had been playing against and beating. So I was happy with the deck overall.
Yeah. Fair. All right. What about modern though?
Life on the line, modern.
Yeah.
So theoretical game. We win, we live. If we lose, we die. This week, I think I'm going to put my life on the blue green deck. I have a good feeling about it, to be honest. Um, it has some polarizing matchups, but it's beating a lot of the top dogs right now, and the the decks that I'm kind of been struggling with the most are not as popular, and maybe it's solvable. Like maybe like prowess isn't like the most difficult deck to attack, so maybe can come up with some sort of plan there, and then the deck is kind of naturally good against the other decks I'm worried about. So I'm gonna go with blue green ritual.
Yeah. I want to say Jet controlish build, but I don't have the exact build. I'd have to put some thinking in it, but uh, not complete cop out. But I'm just gonna say yeah, Jet some controlish builds.
That's a bit of a cop out. You gotta set a range. Like you don't have to say the 75 or anything, but you
Yeah.
gotta like. Are we talking Supreme Verdict, Flame of Anor, or Ragavan? Like you gotta pin your flag somewhere.
I like the trainer flare shell, but I almost want to say maybe like once you're playing trainer, you kind of want to play ephemerate. Once you're playing ephemerate, you probably should have some riddlers, and you should have some solitude, and then play Suga not to play, and it's
It builds
tough.
itself.
It's tough. And then I was also thinking about like the whole like tunes for discharge to power some Wrath Disguise. Um, Thing is, if you're like too all in on removal and you don't have like either the counters or some kind of weird hate, you just lose to graveyard stuff. You're gonna lose to Scape Shift. You're gonna lose to random Storm deck, or if people are still playing stuff like struggling in something like Goryo. So you can't be just all in on sweepers and removals and Flage and stuff and not have some kind of interaction, whether it's counter or some kind of graveyard hate or so.
Does Tune let you play more pick spells? Like, can you play more Fawns and Subtleties if you play Tune?
Not really, because Tune just is a bad cantrip. So you're already like not having the most like tune makes your draws like a little less consistent. That's why I don't like the card. I think it's a huge
Mm-hmm.
deal when you're trading tune for
Your
consider.
opening hands, yeah.
You really need to get value of that energy, and then force and subtleties are like more inconsistency, and these cards kind of make you want to play Riddler. So yeah, tough. Um, yeah.
We're just non-committal then.
Yeah, semi.
Just control.
I also still like my Path to Exile idea. I feel like I don't know if you saw, but the new we didn't talk about spoilers, but the Path works well with that 2-drop, the blue 2-drop, because it's when they
Oh, they search and you
shuffle.
draw a card.
Yeah, it's when they shuffle. So sure, when they play a fetch
Oh
land, but
wow.
you can literally go like through. Just talk about it real quick. It's a 1/1 flash for 2 blue and X. It comes into play with X counters, and you draw cards equal to uh, half of X. So you could literally go like flash it at end of turn on turn 2 as a 1/1, untap, field over in your land, put a counter, draw a card, path your creature, put a counter, draw a card. Uh, yeah. And then later in the game,
Not bad.
if you play it for 4, it comes in play as a free flying that draws you a card, and it still had that passive of whenever your opponent shuffles the deck, it gets a counter and you draw a card.
Is it when they
So,
shuffle or when they search? I guess it doesn't really matter. It's like the same, but
oh yeah, I'm not sure, but because path you can maybe decline surge actually.
well, if you decline to search, you also decline to shuffle. So that
Yeah,
would cut both
but then it
ways.
means your path is just like
It's
better
whenever they
sword.
search.
Yeah, feel over enforce if
If it
you
was
two
whenever they
feel.
shuffled, you would draw 2 cards off Green Sun Zenith.
But yeah, kind of went on a tangent there. I'm not sure how. Anyways, as always, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening or watching. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, Midweek Metagame. Um, Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was interesting. Hope it was fun, and hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.